Right? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a miracle we never thought would happen. You know, a lot of us here in the room have, and elsewhere around the country, about a decade or so ago, we all came together in a small group to craft and form a group of people who would go out in the country to create a conservative movement in America. As Margaret Thatcher once said, first you win the argument, then you win the election. And in 2016, we won the election. But a year or so after that, something amazing happened. Some Koreans came to Matt Schlapp and Dan Schneider out of the blue and said, we've seen what you've done in America. We want you to help us. Tell us how you did it, and we want to do it in South Korea. And so we now, CPAC now goes to Seoul, South Korea to help them spread the message. When we went last year, we thought 300 people would show up. Thousands of people came. Overflow crowds everywhere. But let me give you some background on the Korean situation. 70 years ago, at the end of World War II, the communists of North Korea attacked and invaded South Korea, trying to create a communist Korean government on the whole continent, the peninsula. The Chinese communists came to the aid of the North. The Americans came to the aid of the South Korean freedom fighters. The result was a demilitarized zone cutting Korea in half, left to right. In the North, which had been originally the most prosperous, well-educated population, they chose communist dictatorship by the Kim family. The South moved towards democracy, a free market, education, freedom of the press, not a corrupt country at all, and an independent judiciary. But what has happened in the last 70 years is the North has, instead of pursuing the interests of peace and prosperity for its people, has chosen a course of indentured servitude of its people, enslaving them, and his quest for nuclear weapons. The South has gone from an undeveloped country, when I was a graduate student there in 1973, where there were open sewers and open troughs, to one of the most modern, sophisticated cities in the world. What we have today, though, that is not, we're not just going to tell you about it, we're going to show you a living example of someone who has escaped from a North Korean prison camp into the South, and she will tell you what it's like to live under socialism and communism, where you have given up and do not have any rights at all. So we want to welcome today Dr. Aaron Lee. She was and Dr. Lee is going to read a statement in English telling her tale, and then I'm going to interview her to ask her what it was really like behind the Iron Curtain. Dr. Lee, please.
Good morning, CPAC. I am Eran Lee. I escaped from North Korea to free world 23 years ago. I thank God that I am able to stand before you today and convey my message on behalf of 20 million North Koreans who are suffering under the evil dictatorship. I also want to give my thanks to Chairman Mesle and all of you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. My father was a Christian and a member of the YMCA. During the Korean War, he fought alongside the American forces against Kim Il-sung and his band of Christians, of communists. When the American forces retreated from North Korea, he remained in North Korea and continued to fight the communists. The American says, we will be back when azaleas bloom. And he believed that they would return. My father spent 17 years in prison and suffered endless torture. One evening, during dinner, North Korean secret agents rushed into our house and took us to prison camp far away in the mountains. I was 10 years old. The camp was hell. We had to do hard work from morning till night, digging and carrying logs. We had to suffer unbelievable mental abuse. When I turned 18, I attempted suicide because of hardship. South Korea achieved a miracle on the Han River with the help of America. South Koreans and the people of the world look up to Americans as symbols of liberty, justice, and prosperity. But we have a problem in South Korea. Pro-North elements have their way in South Korea. They have taken over the government, the media, and the labor unions. They are looking to win the National Assembly in the election in April to revise the Constitution. Right now, the Moon government has imprisoned hundreds of former officials from the previous government, including former president on failed charges. These past 3 years, they have been oppressing people, the church, and the Christians. Freedom fighters are working hard to win the next election. We are working hard to make our alliance with America stronger. The kings of the North use pure politics to maintain their power. They have starved millions of people of death, yet they continue to make nuclear bombs to keep their power. The only way to get rid of the nuclear bombs is to get rid of the Kim dictatorship. As a person who has experienced the communist dictatorship in North Korea, I am amazed at the level of freedom and wealth South Koreans enjoy. It is all because of the strong alliance between America and South Korea. I think it was a gift from God. America is a true friend who protected freedom and democracy for South Korea. South Korea and America must go together. We are working hard to bring freedom to the people of North Korea. They have a right to happiness too. I want to remind you of the words Americans told my father in North Korea 70 years ago. We will be back when azaleas bloom. You told the people you would be back in the spring, and they are still waiting. It is time for them to get their freedom. They are working hard for their freedom, but they can't do it alone. They need your help. They need our help. Please pray for true peace in the Korean Peninsula. Thank you.
Stand up for me. You can see. Dr. Lee, you said in your remarks that life in the camps was hell. You were 10 years old.
예, 박사님 그 혁명화 구역 그 수용소에서 그 생활이 지옥이라고 그러는데 그거에 대해서 좀 말씀 부탁드립니다.
거기는 지옥보다 더 나쁜 것이었습니다. 지옥은 마음대로 말할 수 있지만 거기는 마음대로 말을 할 수 없습니다. 아침부터 저녁까지 아주 힘든 일을 해야 됐었고 너무 배고팠고 너무 추웠습니다.
It was worse than hell. It was a place where we could not speak freely. There was no food. We were constantly hungry. We were forced to work early in the morning to late at night. And the worst situation was that we lived in humiliation. We came from Pyongyang, but we were treated as criminals. And also, we were so hungry to the point that we came across flour that was tainted with diesel oil, but we ended up eating that because we were so hungry. So that was the everyday life in the hell that was in this revolutionary zone prison camp that we were sent to.
Your family was Christian.
Yes.
And Christianity was forbidden. How could your family worship?
어떻게 그 가족분들이 기독교를 접하고 기독교로서 그 하나님을 믿고 믿음을 가지고 있는지 궁금해서.
저희 가족은 원래 평양에서 살았고 평양에서 기독교를 접했습니다. 저희 아버지는 잠깐 신학교를 다니신 분이셨고 저희 할아버지 할머니 모두 크리스찬이었습니다.
So our family lived in Pyongyang, and that's where they became believers in Christianity. And my father actually attended seminary briefly, and my grandparents were believers as well.
How did you escape from freedom?
그럼 어떻게 그 북한을 탈출하게 되시는지?
저는 그때 4개월짜리 아들을 데리고 있었는데 저희가 정치범 수용소에 끌려가게 됐습니다. 그래서 저는 도망을 쳤고 4개월짜리 아이를 업고 압록강을 넘었습니다. 그 아이가 지금 여기에 와 있는데 예, 카츠사에서 근무하고 지금 대학교에서 공부하고 있습니다.
So we escaped North Korea because our family was about to be sent to a prison camp again. And so I carried my 4-month-old son on my back and I crossed the Yalu River bordering North Korea and China to make my escape for freedom. And my 4-month-old son is now here. Well, he's 20-something years old now, but he also served. My son also served with the U.S. military as part of the Katyusha, the Korean augmentation force, the U.S. Army.
If you have one bit of advice for the American people, what would that be?
마지막으로 한 가지의 그 미국 시민들에게 드릴 말씀이 있다면 그 무슨 말씀 하고 싶어요?
자유는 인간에게 가장 소중한 것이고 북한 주민들은 자유를 가지지 못했기 때문에 노예가 됐고 지역보다 더 고통스러운 곳에서 살아가고 있습니다. 미국 국민들이 51년도에 한 약속처럼 북한 주민들을 꼭 해방시켜서 자유를 선물해 주시기를 바라고 자유 세계가 영원하기를 기원합니다.
So freedom is the most precious thing for a human being, and North Korean people right now, they are not living in freedom, they're living as slaves under that dictatorship. So as the Americans promised my father 70 years ago that they will be back, I pray that all of you Americans here will remember the North Korean people and bring freedom to the people of North Korea. And lastly, I would say that may freedom live forever.
Thank you. Thank you.
Judea, Samaria. We hear these words, but what do they mean? The civil society, the ideals which we strive to conserve. Created by the four cities, London took from Rome, which built on Athens, but they all got their start in Jerusalem, the city of Zion. The exceptional city, the city upon a hill that would shine its light and the message of God unto the world. The city that was and remains the capital of Judea, the historic homeland of the Jewish people. It would teach all that nationalism is an ideal, that capitalism is good, that property rights are to be honored and protected, that life, all life, is sacred, even those of the unborn. That one has the right to defend themselves, their family, their country, and their religion. That what you hear at this conference began in Judea and Samaria over 3 millennia ago, and that we all want to live as one nation under God. That is why this year, Chovavei Zion has decided to come to CPAC and spread the message of God's city. We invite you to come down to the CPAC Hub and visit the Chovavei Zion booth and learn more about what Judea and Samaria can teach you about the civil society.
And for our next conversation, please welcome John Matsey and Matt Schlapp.
Hey! All right, we know we got you up awfully early. I don't understand. How come I see so many red caps? That's kind of weird. That's awesome. So I'm here with a true American innovator and someone I consider a true American hero, John Mates.
Hi.
John, who looks like he's 17 years old, he's probably a little bit older, is the founder and CEO of a social media platform called Parler. And we've put this in the program in a spontaneous effort to tell you a beautiful story of a fantastic place where conservatives can go to talk to Americans and to figure out what's going on in their country.
Sure, of course. So we created Parler with free speech and privacy in mind because there's a lot of tech companies out there who don't respect that. And specifically, our main competitor is Twitter. And so what we're trying to do is we've been taking a look at this landscape and what's going on here. And these companies are censoring individuals based off of their political...
Anybody here been censored on social media? It's a lot of hands.
And so basically, this started happening mainly in 2016 with President Trump's election. And it's going to continue to happen on those platforms. And we really need to start taking a stance against these platforms who are kind of acting like socialist dictatorships. And so in order to combat that, we need to embrace...
Like to get rid of that word kinda?
Kinda.
Strike
Just
kinda.
mainly.
I'm censoring kinda.
All right. And so in order to fight this, we need to embrace capitalism and free markets. And in capitalism and with a free market, you have competition in the marketplace, and competition is your leverage as a consumer. So your free voice, your free speech, is tied to your leverage over these companies. And in order to get that, we have to join competitors. Parler. So let
me ask you a question. So Parler thinks that the free market solution to this travesty that's happening on social media is to outcompete the bad guys.
Yeah, of course.
What do you need to outcompete them? Do you need customers?
Yeah, we need people to get on the app.
I see a lot of customers.
So you can go to your app store, whether you have a Google phone or an Apple phone, and you type in Parler, it's the red app, and you can download and join, and you can follow me on there at John. So the main mission here is not to leave Twitter, is not to leave these other sites, but the main mission is to join another one where you'll use both communities to maximize your voice. And while you maximize your voice on Parler and bring your friends and family and anyone else you want to argue with or agree with, as you expand that audience, you get more leverage and you have more free speech. And we fight these central points of authority, which are essentially socialist dictatorships in the realm of free speech. They are what we're here to fight all of this as conservatives, and they represent where socialism is supposed to take us. And we want to combat that in every way, shape, and form.
So, I have this kind of crazy notion that the Democrats became liberals, they became progressives, but as Bill Barr said, I don't know what they're progressing toward. Not much progress from what I can see. Now they're socialists. So basically, conservatives are the new liberals because we're not the censors. We don't want to censor people. We just want to outthink them, right? And outtalk them and outreason them.
Yes.
And that's what Parler's about.
Yeah, we need a level playing ground. We're not basically in free speech, we're not going to take sides. We don't care what your political ideology is. You guys need to debate and come to the best terms. And frankly, it's not a fair fight if you stay on these platforms. It's an unfair fight.
Well, I happened to run into John yesterday, and I think it's just not an accident that America, once again, is the home of innovation. And this is a great story that you all need to know about. So, John, one more time, how do they get involved with Parler?
You can download our app on either the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, Parler, or go to Parler.com, sign up and join us, and let's have a good conversation.
What do you guys think? Good news? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on.
You guys.
I think you got some new customers.
Yeah, I think so.
The deep state is a sort of political. James Madison is probably spinning in his grave. He and the other founders would be appalled at the notion of a professional political class operating separate and apart from the will of the people and from the oversight of both the legislative branch and even the courts. The deep state thrives in the dark. The best thing in the world, of course, is to shine a spotlight or sunlight on that to illuminate what's really going on, because that's the way that you get accountability. Judicial Watch has investigated and in some cases even litigated open records cases concerning the deep state because this unconstitutional fourth branch of government.
Just go to readepoch.com/CPAC. We'd love to have you on board.
We are coming together at a crucial time in our nation's history. America is making great strides towards freedom and liberty, but she also confronts determined foes and faces enormous challenges. Challenges that strike directly at the core principles that all of us here hold so dear. Free enterprise, limited government, individual freedom, traditional values, and national security. Across America and the world, we see where liberalism has left its devastating mark. in homes, in schools, in communities, and in capitals. That's why our work is so important, and it's what the Heritage Foundation is all about. At Heritage, we're not just a bulwark against the left, we're a battleship for liberty. We are determined to guide America to renewed greatness and to take the fight to liberalism. That's why I'm so proud to serve as the Heritage Foundation's president, and why I'm so honored to join with you in the fight for the greatest nation on earth.
Ladies and gentlemen, and to open our panel on the topic, Please America, Don't Give Up, let's give a warm CPAC welcome to John James.
Outstanding, outstanding. I understand we're running a little bit behind schedule, so they cut my speech from an hour to 45 minutes, so let's get started. Good morning, Patriots. My name is John James, and I'd like to begin by telling you a little story. I'd like to tell you a story about a little boy who was born in Starkville, all the way up to the Supreme Court for the right to compete. He worked, he evolved, until he was able to provide a life for his family that was previously unimaginable. He grew an idea into a $35 million company, automotive supplier, before a change of management in 2012. That little boy is my father. My father, like so many others who've immigrated from all over the world and from the Jim Crow South for better opportunities, never asked for free stuff. They asked for a fair shot. I am not standing here on this stage because of socialism. I'm standing here because of free enterprise and free will, and because self-determination works. When I was a little boy, I was taught to use my blessings to be a blessing to others. I was taught to take something good that you've received and turn it into something greater. I started by leaving home and attending West Point, becoming a Ranger qualified Apache pilot and flying 750 hours combat in Operation Rocky Freedom. I returned home from the war to an automotive industry in turmoil, a city in bankruptcy, and helped to grow that $35 million company into a $135 million company under 5 years. I got married, earned a couple master's degrees, and made a few little boys. John is 6, Hudson's about to be 5, and Christian just turned 1. And when I look at my 3 sons, I'm reminded each and every single day that this is the greatest country on the planet. And like America, our stories didn't begin with us. I am the walking result of the American dream, and I believe the American dream is worth fighting for. I believe the American dream is worth sacrificing for. A few of my classmates gave their lives for it. We, all of us, must be willing to continue their fight so that all people have an opportunity, a chance at the American dream. That's what makes America exceptional. 150 years ago, Lincoln warned us, America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter, if we lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. A century later, Reagan warned us, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. Freedom is not something we pass along to the children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Tonight in South Carolina, there will be a primary among Democrat candidates who have been talking about how to con a generation into embracing socialism. In 2020, we must remember that Lincoln did not fight the Civil War to beat the South. He and his party, the Republican Party, stood up to end the physical bondage of black people and to keep this country together.
This election, fellow patriots, is not about beating Bernie. This election is about freeing those in socioeconomic bondage in our cities and winning back a generation turning to socialism on our campuses. Listen closely, listen very closely, because I want to be clear, crystal clear. Do not underestimate the appeal of socialism for those whom the status quo has failed. For the American dream to prevail, for us to defeat socialism, for us to save a generation, we can't just say socialism sucks and assume that people will follow us. Stuck Americans don't want socialism. They just want the pain to stop. But it's up to us to offer a remedy that works. We must show them an America where a child's outcome isn't determined by the zip code they're born in, where a good education is attainable and hard work truly does get you ahead. We must show them an America that protects our communities from tyrants without leaving our children vulnerable to terrorists. We must show them an America where a woman has better choices than life or death, where an accident or illness doesn't leave a family in financial ruin. We must show them an America where the son of a slave can become a sharecropper, the son of a sharecropper can become a mason, the son of a mason can become a truck driver, and the son of that truck driver can stand before you here today on the brink of becoming Michigan's first black U.S. Senator. You show me where in the world you can go from slave to senator in 4 generations and from poverty to prosperity in 1, and I'll show you the United States of America. I will show you the American dream. We must counter the socialist movement of envy and confiscation with a conservative movement of access and opportunity. We must show this generation that free will and free enterprise benefits each of us without sacrificing compassion and conscientiousness for all of us. We must become the disciples of the American dream and share the good news unafraid with those who are being seduced by lies. That's how we win. That's how America wins. Abraham Lincoln showed us how to stand up to oppression and hold this nation together by sheer force of will. Reagan showed us how to defeat Marxist ideology without firing a shot. President Trump dares us to be great while continuing to tear down barriers and increase access to the American dream for the forgotten in every corner of this nation. But he's not done, and we're most definitely not done. We have a long way to go, and the president needs you. I need you, and most importantly, a generation on the verge of socialism needs you. The hour is hand, ladies and gentlemen, fellow patriots, and by the grace of God and your hard work, freedom will not end with us. The American dream will not end with us. We're just getting started. Thank you. God bless you. Let's fly.
Please welcome from Alberta, Canada, Steve Overgaard.
Well, good evening or morning or whatever we're at. My name is Steve Overgaard. I live in Alberta, Canada. I love Canada. I'm going to say that right now. But without you guys, Canada would be screwed. 100%, okay? I'm an outfitter, and I live mostly in the bush. My good friend, Dan Schneider, got me to come and speak on behalf of Canadian healthcare. I have firsthand experience of all the health care. I live in a small rural town of 3,000 people, but I'll tell you what, My personal experiences with our socialist healthcare is astonishing. Our healthcare system, I hate to say this in a redneck way, it totally sucks. For me, personally, I had 40% blockage of my heart. I was in trouble. I felt sluggish. I was did a whole bunch of medicine. I couldn't feel good. I didn't do anything good in life. My good friend from Ohio got me to go to the Cleveland Clinic because he said I look like a balloon. He helped me a lot. I went to Cleveland and I didn't have a blockage. The Cleveland doctor said to me, get off the medicine, quit all the medicine you're on, and get on the treadmill. Well, as you can see, that didn't really work. I used to look like Steven Seagal. Now I'm kind of like, I don't know what I am, okay? So anyways, after I went off all my medication, I felt good again. My life was full. I'm happy. I'm raising all my kids. I'm so happy. And that is because of your health care. Your doctors, not my socialist care, okay? The next story I'm going to tell you about, this is very personal. My buddy, Dwight, okay? A big man, he's bigger than I am. He had a broken ankle, okay? He broke his ankle and he needed a pin put into it. Because of our health system, he had to go to bed for 18 months. And he had so much sores, bed sores. He had so many bed sores, he could hardly even move. He stayed there for 18 months. He got gangrene in his leg. So he was in a total bind. I knew this guy, he loved the outdoors, he loved the mountains, he loved everything about Canada. After he got gangrene, the healthcare system told him, oh, it's another 2 years. You're gonna have to go in bed for 2 more years. Guess what? He cut his leg off. Sorry. My daughter was in a car crash and had whiplash, okay? A few months later, she could not, she was very bright, she could not function. She couldn't do the computer. She could not run her family home, okay? She had so much wrong with her, the doctor said it was anxiety, it was stress. They didn't say to her there was something wrong. My good friend again from Ohio said, please come down to Cleveland. They brought Jessica down to Cleveland and found out within 2 days that she was diagnosed with POTS disease, okay? So that means all she had to do was function good and go on to her new life. From then on, she goes down every 6 months to Cleveland. Now you gotta remember, this is all on our dime. We don't have any kind of money or anything except fundraising, private fundraising. After that, she feels way better, and she flies down, like I said, every 6 weeks. She is so better. She is raising her family. She's feeling good because of that one friend of mine telling her to go to Ohio and telling her to try American healthcare. Trust me, don't go anywhere, okay? Okay, finally, our babysitter, Dina, was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. Because of the Canadian protocol that takes so long, the PET scans, they basically told her she was class 1 to start with. Because it waited so long, she was diagnosed with class 4, okay? So that was unbelievable. In a few months, because they didn't have no way of treating it, diagnosing it, she went from a class 1 to a class 4. Basically, they told her to put her affairs in order. She had a small family, basically lay down and die. That's what they told her. Thank God that we had a fundraising, a private fundraising for her. Her family was in the oil field, was well enough to go to Arizona. They got the diagnosis in Arizona and went to Vancouver, British Columbia, for the medicine. She travels to Vancouver to take the medicine, and it cost her $2,000 out of her pocket because, of course, no insurance and stuff. But unbelievable, she is 100% cancer-free. So they told me I can't, I'm a big BSer, okay? They told me I have to kind of shut this down a little bit. And so if you want to talk later, trust me, she's giddy up time. I'll tell you everything, okay? So I'll end like this. So with social medicine, you will experience the same things that I did. Don't listen to those yahoos. The other guys, I'm sorry, the other guys, you know who I mean. I don't know. I'm not a big political correct guy, but you know they're no good for nothing. So, so this is why I'm going to end it up. Thank you so much again. And America, remember, without you guys, Canada would be screwed. Okay? Thank you.
Please welcome from Seoul, Korea, Dr. Kim Hwang-dong.
How are you, everybody? I'm here from Seoul, Korea. It's 7,000 miles away from here. I would like to say how important military power is. Let me focus on the importance of military power to confront the expansion of China hegemony and threats. First, I'd like to remind you the year 1969, Nixon Guam Doctrine. By taking advantage of Guam Doctrine, China could get the standing member of UN Security Council and veto power. China also took the chance to expand her power to the new area with the withdrawal of US military in Vietnam, Philippines, and the partial withdrawal of infantry in South Korea. The new communist leader of China has started to push the aggressive policy with military power and modernization, which is called anti-access and area denial in East Asia and even West Pacific area. All neighboring countries are included in this hegemonic region of anti-access and area denial. Even Hong Kong, Taiwan, South Korea, and all the islands of 9-dash line in southern China Sea. Now, China's strategic object is to accomplish the second Guam Doctrine, to get the position of global power with the capability of military projection toward East Asia and even West Pacific area. In line with expanding military power, China has pushed to secure the position of exclusive monopoly power in East Asia. How? By opposing the US-South Korea joint military exercise, and by opposing disposition of defense-only missile defense system, it's called THAAD, in South Korea. Also, by opposing the advance of US military ship in the waters between South Korea and China. In addition, China has taken advantage of North Korean nuclear project to enforce the withdrawal of the US military presence in Korea. North Korean nuclear project is obviously China's strategy. Pyongyang and Kim Jong-un dictator is just acting for China and Xi Jinping. China has persistently claimed, first of all, to exchange the disarmament of the US military with disarmament of North Korean nuclear equipment. Secondly, to exchange the withdrawal of US military with dismantlement of North Korean nuclear bombs and ICBMs. When the wolves are talking about peace or denuclearization or end of war declaration, actually it means that the wolves are pushing the demilitarization of the US and South Korea and our allies. without military buildup, we could not keep the peace, freedom, and prosperity. As the wolves lure the downsize and withdrawal of military capability, we have to build up as much more. That's the prescription we have to take from now. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Please welcome from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Good morning. Coming from Minneapolis, it's so good to see that many Republicans in one place. My name is Dalia Lakidi. I'm an American journalist from Minneapolis. I am a proud conservative, challenging Ilhan Omar in Minnesota's 5th District. We'll get it back. Wow. We'll get the house back. I grew up in Baghdad, Iraq. Growing up, my family had everything we could wish for, but we didn't have freedom. It was an Iraq ruled by Saddam Hussein. We could not protest his government. We couldn't complain about things that we weren't happy about or things that were happening in our country. We couldn't mock or make jokes about Saddam Hussein or his family or even his government. We had 2 TV channels, and the government controlled these 2 TV channels. Saddam's regime controlled all the media completely. Naturally, we had no foreign TV, we had no foreign media, we didn't have even any media from the Middle East. That meant that the information we've had was so controlled by the Ba'ath and the regime, the Iraqi regime. The government controlled every aspect of our lives, including the way we think and what we should think. When Saddam's government fought the United States, or Kuwait, Iran, or Israel, we couldn't say no, we couldn't question him about his wars. We couldn't stand up and oppose his wars. We couldn't speak about the regime's corruption or its mass murders of our fellow citizens who were Kurds, and I'm half Kurd. Actually, we were not citizens. We were not citizens. None of us was. The lack of freedom to express feelings and ideas made us hostages. Because if you don't have the freedom to express yourself, any other freedoms don't matter much. If you can't talk, if you can't say anything, nothing matters anymore. hostages have no choices. They understand the consequences of destroying their captors. Rich or poor, it doesn't matter. No freedom for all. Because we couldn't turn off or turn to our neighbors or turn to our family members because we were so afraid. We couldn't even trust them. Trust your own family. You're scared that would turn you to the secret service or the secret police back in Iraq. It made us distrust each other. We didn't only live in fear of Saddam Hussein. We've lived in fear of each other. As Iraqis, we knew that this was not natural. We knew that elsewhere in the countries like the United States or Israel, which we were taught to hate, people could express themselves and without fear, something we didn't learn and we didn't know how to do. They couldn't turn, or they could turn to their neighbors or friends and talk about things and without worrying that they'll be in trouble. Freedom was a forbidden word. Freedom was a word that we dreamt of and we yearned for. In 1988, my family and I fled the country. We didn't tell anybody. We didn't tell our family members because we were feared that the government would know that we were planning to leave. We left Iraq with whatever we could carry with us. After a couple of years, after working in the Middle East in the media, opposing Saddam Hussein, in the greatest blessing of my life, we were able to arrive to the United States of America. We arrived as refugees, and we were so happy. Today, I'm heartsick for this wonderful country that took me and my family and gave me freedom and gave me a bright future. The Democrats and the Democratic Party looks like it will nominate a socialist. Someone who all his life defended and supported the communist states that made hostages of their people. Every one of the countries Bernie Sanders praised, from the Soviet Union to Venezuela to Castro's Cuba, all of them made hostages of their people, and I know the feelings. The countries that Ilhan Omar defends, like Iran, like Qatar, like Turkey, they make hostages of their people. And all of them do not allow the people, and they don't give any freedom to the people, especially freedom of speech. Why did we do that? Socialists and communists care about only the equal distribution of material things. They call it economic or social justice. Democrats scream about the minimum wage and about the unfairness, income inequality, and the evil of the billionaires. They never mention freedom. Have you ever heard them talking about any freedom? Yeah, because basically they don't care. They never mention freedom, economic freedom, political freedom, or freedom of speech, because it gets in the way of distributing money and power. The people might object, and they never think that people are more important than their ideology. They are hostile to freedom because freedom makes a mess. Some outcomes are unequal. Some dissenting voices they consider dangerous. I was an American now. I am now an American. By the time I became an American, I was broadcasting to millions of people in the Middle East via Al-Hurra. I was pushing back on poisonous Middle Eastern outlets like Qatar Al Jazeera, and you all know it. It even now promotes, and I'm talking about Al Jazeera, promotes terrorism, pushes toxic anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism into people's homes in the Arab world. When I was a journalist, I was not like the fake news American media either. They seem to defend and support ending free speech in America as long as it's not theirs. I was not like the fake news American media that supports every one of our country's enemy simply because it hates our president so much. No, I was an American, and I used my voice to support America and our allies. And I'm using my voice today to support our President, Donald Trump. I've been also using my voice as a weapon against oppression and to defend human rights all over the world. Especially freedom of religions in the Middle East, defending the persecuted Christians of Iraq and the persecuted Christians in the whole region. And as a Muslim Sunni, when ISIS entered Iraq back in 2014 and persecuted all the Christians in the country, I took a stand and I went on air and I wore a cross on solidarity of every Christian in the Middle East. It's been 6 years. I've been wearing it for 6 years. It became part of my personality and who I am. A few years ago, the Democrats in the Senate voted against the First Amendment. They would happily ban speech that they decide is hateful. The activist far left would love to criminalize speech they don't like, because to them, their ideology is more important than what you think or what I think, or if we object. If you don't have the freedom of speech, you don't have the freedom to think. In America, we take this freedom for granted. We don't know the value of the freedom of speech until we lose it. And now, we're very close losing it. We are an election away. I understand that it's like what it's like. And I will do everything I can, even run for Congress to keep it from happening. After the United States deposed Saddam Hussein and his evil regime, I returned to Iraq to report from the Middle East. I've used my voice to support the freedom of peaceful protest in Iraq, in Iran, in Lebanon, and elsewhere, who were getting killed in the streets for opposing the Iranian dictatorship. But I think my voice is most important here in the United States, in the country that I love the most. I want my voice to be a warning to America against allowing the hate from the Middle East to come here, because I know it. I want to be the voice to warn America that Sharia law has no place here. I ran away from it. Believe me, I'm a Muslim and I know it, and I ran away from it, and I will not agree to have it here. So I'm warning you, everybody. There's a huge difference with being just a Muslim or being an Islamist, and we are at war. We are nothing without our freedom. We are nothing if we're not free to speak, if we're not free to think. I wanted to give back to this country that I love so much. I wanted to say thank you to this country that is my country now. It's my heart, and I've been here for 3 decades. If you want to know more about me, go to dahliaforcongress.com. And I want to tell you, I love this country, and I want to give back. That's why I'm running for Congress against Ilhan Omar. We all should stand together and unite. Thank you, and God bless you all.